everyone, welcome back to Grey Owl, and we are once again here with another podcast, and no surprise by this point, how many cast members do we have by this point, but I'm happy to welcome back my good co-host, Liln.
Hello, it's good to be back, and actually in person for once.
Yeah, it's funny, you think when it makes audio editing so much easier, because it's less hassle to mix them all up together, but...
Yeah, there could be a couple seconds out of sync, or anything could really go wrong.
That's such an annoying thing, because even though we get it so perfectly right, and we time, our synced recordings at the exact same time, somehow it always ends up faltering off as it goes along.
Audio has a funny way of messing you up at the end of the day. It makes sure to ruin your day. It always does. I don't know how audio designers do it. It's a hard job.
They're goddamn saints. But hey, we're back with another entry, and it's fun to talk movies today because we've got some interesting news, and we'll also be able to talk about some stuff that we've recently heard, some stuff that we've seen, and some stuff that we know you haven't seen.
Yeah,
that I have seen though. So
I've definitely not seen as much as you have, so please educate me on whatever you can.
I will try, my young Padawan.
My young Padawan.
But in that loose transition there, we'll start off to the first one, which will be not Star Wars related, but it is space related of sorts, and I think that's the best way to start off, actually. Have you seen the Alien films? Aliens?
Of course, I've seen the first two. Definitely seen those. Alien and Aliens. Very, very, very good films. Oh, they were fantastic. Obviously, Alien being the occult classic. Absolutely incredible movie. State-of-the-art effects for its time. Like, the way they filmed everything was absolutely perfect. Felt so sci-fi, and nothing creeps me out more than that Xenomorph alien. If there is one monster to this day, even with modern day films and monsters and endless creations out there in horror films and games and everything, the one thing I would not want to face out of everything is the alien.
I think there's just something so creepy about the idea of a literal creature burrowing itself out of your chest.
And so hyper intelligent it will hunt you down and kill you.
Yeah, and it's amazing. It's amazing to think that James Cameron had two big franchises, and he was able to sell the first two movies in such a big pop culture way.
Yeah,
and it's kind of a shame that they've gone off and up and down sometimes. Because so you've seen the first two.
Yeah,
I've seen all of them.
So how many are there? List them off for me.
Well, there's the 4 original films, including the first two. Then we've got Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection. And
I don't think I've seen those two. I don't think I have.
Do you have an idea of what happens in those films?
Not a Scooby, no.
Really?
I'm not familiar, no.
Okay.
Not off the top of my head. If you explain it to me, I might know.
Okay, so...
Spoilers ahead.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, it's your fault.
Well, it's been out for nearly 20 years, so by this point, yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen it, I can't complain, but yeah, go
on. So yeah, in short, a lot of people hated Alien 3 for the longest time because of its controversial decision to kill off a lot of the main characters from Aliens, like
right.
Newt, Hicks, essentially the
family. I mean, if you encounter that many aliens and you get out alive, it's kind of spectacular. Like,
maybe
it feels like they got plot armor. I understand why they kind of killed them off to try and make shock value for the film, but if it probably didn't hit because everyone loves those characters.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's kind of like killing off Hermione Granger and Ron Weasley in the second movie of Harry Potter. It's like
yeah, in the second movie it would be quite sad because it's killing kids. But when they're older, if they died later in the films, it would have more of an emotional impact as well because they've been with us. But I think that would have been pretty cool if they killed one of the trio. And
I agree. I think that would have definitely push the stakes higher. But back to Alien, I do feel like it was justified. A lot of the fans were justified in their frustrations with Alien 3 because not only did they kill those fan favorite characters, especially after they'd just been introduced in the previous movie, and they could have gone on for several more sequels.
Yeah.
But they also had made the decision to kill off Ripley.
Yeah, that's a pretty bold move, not gonna lie. You could, there is a forbidden rule in horror filmmaking. It's called the final girl. The final girl that alive at a horror movie will never die. She does not die. The monster should fear her. There's a bit of for some reason they have like some kind of superpower where they just all their friends are dead and they gear up and they go and fight the like big monster. And that was Ripley. That's the girl from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's like all these occult like massive films always have this final like girl, and for you to kill her off just kind of later in the sequels. Is it made by a different company as well than the first two?
It's made by mostly different people. I think the only carrying over was I'm bloody forgetting the name. I apologise, but the guy who designed the alien, he actually designed some of the designs for the film. But even he ended up getting kicked off. But they still used his designs apparently.
Oh, that's really scummy. Like if you're going to kick him off, use someone else's designs because that's why you kicked him off. I'm assuming, unless he got kicked off for bad behaviour or something.
Nah, it wasn't bad behaviour. It was one of those stories where they effed him over and he got them back in the end or something.
I mean, that's typical. Yeah, typical filmmaking industry, isn't it? Though.
Yeah. Again, I'm blanking on the name, but even the director was a Newtonheimer at the time, but he went on to become a famous director. So this is, and even he came out years later saying my one regret in filmmaking is Alien 3.
Right. Yeah. I mean, everyone has their kind of bad films. It's a shame it was the Alien franchise that had one of those. But I mean, like Alien versus Predator as well. Alien versus Predator had its bad sequels as well. Sorry, I meant just Predator. Just Predator, I meant.
Yeah.
Had its like bad sequels. Like after the first one, they kind of dropped off. And the same with Alien versus Predator. I think the first one was a cool concept, but it didn't hit for me. It was a bit like I wanted to see them both at some point get so smart and work together and kill all the humans. That would have been hilarious.
Yeah, I feel like the entire franchise is almost had a blueprint for how they could do it, but filmmakers just decided to do their own thing. So, rewinding a bit back to Alien, I do feel like people have softened to it in recent years and appreciate some of its choices, and I can understand why. Because when you know with the benefit of hindsight, and also when you know what was happening behind the scenes, I think the main reason why Ripley was killed off was because Sigourney Weaver was getting tired of the franchise,
Right.
and I think there was also after Alien 3 made her almost an action hero. She also became very like no guns, anti-gun support. Right. So that's why no one has guns in that movie.
So why anti-gun? What was the point of that? Did they say flamethrowers were better or something?
I think it was just a matter of morals. She just felt. I don't know if it was her. I think she definitely championed it, but I don't know if it was a filmmaking decision as well.
That I also don't understand the fact that you've fought aliens before and you know they're out there and you're potentially facing more. And you say no guns?
This is more of the actress and the filmmakers rather than the character.
Oh, she's just sick of acting with guns.
Yeah, I think mainly.
Oh, I guess they kicked her off because she was taking liberties then. Because like actors at the end of the day are not the directors. Directors do have the final call. Screenwriters and everything like that, and how the movie should go. Just because an actor like says something, a lot of the time they do have good improvisation, they have great like inputs and things like that because they know the character the best. But a lot of them abuse that, as we've seen in very recent a lot of changes in TV and films, just forcing a message on everyone and using their own agendas and stuff. But well, let's talk about aliens and not human politics, though.
Yeah, I guess in short, Alien 3 has its problems, and there's many reasons that you can explain why. And I think there's even a documentary or some form of behind-the-scenes exploration that people can look into if they're curious. But I personally am in the camp where I feel like Alien 3 should have been a completely different movie. It should have been the version because there was a script that focused primarily on Hicks, and it wrote Ripley out, and it basically gave Newt. She went on to live with her relatives somewhere else. So they still leave the story, but they're not dead. So it leaves the door open for them to come back. And I would have preferred if they just like continued the story with Hicks and Bishop.
That would have been really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that would have definitely been. It would have been safe, but at the very least, you still have the characters there, so that if they want to bring them back for further sequels, they could have. But yeah, the point is, the Alien franchise like Terminator, like Predator, they did fall over after a while, and
Yeah.
they've had levels of coming up. Because did you see Prometheus when that came out?
I didn't see exactly when it came out, but I saw it a little bit after. But yes, I have seen it.
Mm.
I have one big question. Why does a scientist run in the shadow of a falling object which is circular and rolls towards her? Why is she running in the shadow of it thinking she can outpace it? If she ran left or right, like even in a slight angle, still running away from it so it doesn't just instantly squish her, she would have been perfectly fine. That mainly that scene really pissed me off. But like other than that, I didn't really have too many qualms with the film, to be honest. I quite liked it. It was quite a spectacle. Um, I like the idea of that giant face hugger. My God, that was huge. Why was it so big? Was it to face hug fucking Cthulhu or something? But yeah, he's already tentacles. You don't need more of those. The engineers were cool. I liked the idea of them. Are they the first time they're mentioned and shown?
We saw the skeletal husk of one in the first film, the first Alien
Okay,
film,
right.
but this was meant to be their origin story. And honestly, after when I first saw Prometheus, opening night in cinemas, I loved it, and I had a lot of hope for the sequels going forward because there was a lot of talk that this series was not going to be about the aliens; it was going to be just about this race of species and how they essentially influenced humanity. And by the end of this trilogy,
I really like that idea behind it. I feel like they kind of drifted off with the writing.
yeah, the plan was, I believe, that they would focus on that aspect of the story, and then, like in the last film, they would at least acknowledge like the aliens and how they came to be, and I think that would have worked. But a lot of people at the time didn't like that. They were very critical of Prometheus because it lacked connections to Alien, and I think in hindsight now, I also agree because again, you can look this up on the internet, but there was Prometheus originally was a full-on prequel to Alien, and I think it was titled Alien Engineers or Alien Origins, and essentially it's the same plot of Prometheus. There's just more tissue connecting it to be a prequel, so it actually is set on LV-426. You see the chest burster, the alien chest burster, burst out of its chest, and it crashes onto the planet, and you see like the signal being set off, so that it sets everything up for people on the Nostromo to find the signal 50 years later or something.
Okay.
So if anything, it doesn't change too much. It was just a matter of the final product just took away a lot of those tissue connections.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, I feel like that would have just worked. They could have still done that. They could have still made it a simple, full-on prequel to Alien, but then still gone off and done those further stories with these engineers.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I guess Ridley Scott was very adamant that it wasn't an Alien film, which is a shame.
I mean, I kind of get it. You didn't want doing the effects for the alien as good as they did back then. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. They have a lot to live up to. But the way we haven't seen the engineers, so we have no expectations.
Yeah,
so it's a way safer way of writing the film, I think.
Yeah, we did see them. We saw them without the masks, and we saw them in the mask near the end of it.
The the engineers we haven't seen before that though in the flesh. So like the way they do the effects and how they present them on screen, there's no expectations. Whereas with the alien, there's a lot more to live up to because that is like an iconic villain, and like back in the day they used puppets, not like CGI.
And a man in a suit.
Which is a lot more expensive to do than CGI, I think. I think that's why everyone goes with CGI, and it's also a lot quicker to do. Like paying for like a costume maker, a fitter, a makeup artist, like a scene and everything to like shoot the scene right. I think it takes a lot more money than just sitting down and putting some CGI in there, which is why a lot of things are CGI nowadays and not puppet stuff, because you gain a lot more money from it. A lot less loss, which is a shame because CGI is great in places, but when it's overused, it does look very, very, very artificial. And I did prefer the costume days, and of course, not everything is going to be that good looking back, like a lot of the Doctor Who villains back in the day wearing costumes. Oh yeah, I much prefer the CGI in TV shows like that.
Yeah.
But like say the new dinosaurs in Jurassic World. Very CGI. You can really clearly see it on screen. Like they've done a very, very good job. The dinosaurs look great, but it's not puppets anymore. Like the big T-Rex was an actual animatronic that actually malfunctioned and created a really cool scene when they smashed through the roof of the glass. It wasn't meant to smash through the glass. That actually broke, and the kids' screams are genuine.
Yeah.
It's fucking cool, and just like the way they made the sound with like a combination of multiple animal noises. They made like an elephant, a lion roar, dog like shaking a squeaky toy and stuff to like make all these sounds and to make that iconic T-Rex scream. So it's just like they put all this effort into it, and nowadays with CGI, you don't put as much into it.
Mm.
I feel like kind of the magic dies off a little bit, but I've yet to see a CGI like scene to prove me wrong and be like, yeah, that was much better than like most like actual practical effects.
Yeah. Yeah. The Alien franchise was one of those film series that had a good balance with it. It was primarily an actor in a suit, then it evolved to adding CG where they could and puppeteering, and into that to now in the recent movies where it's just a full blown CG monster, and that is a shame. It is a shame when they lose some of that magic because it definitely impacts your thoughts on the movie and the story. And with going back to the story, I feel like again they missed a direction with Prometheus because after they did that film, they then did Alien Covenant, which was the sequel. And no surprise, they pretty much just skip over an entire movie because. And spoilers for anyone who hasn't even seen these films yet, but the Prometheus ends with Shaw basically saying, "Oh, we are going to find the engineers. We are going to find answers as to why they tried to kill us. Why we are owed this explanation because we are living creatures." And cut to like the next movie, and it's a completely new cast. They crash down on a planet. They find David. Oh, your main character from the last movie, she's dead, and those alien bases that you were going to explore in this new trilogy, they're dead too. I killed them. I'm the big bad.
Nice.
And it's like, huh? And I'm convinced. Again, people can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm convinced that Ridley Scott went through a phase where he was obsessed with androids. Because
for sure.
Because he came out in interviews at the time of that film's premiere saying, "Oh, the future of the franchise will be about androids. It will be about David." And I feel like either you were still thinking you were in Blade Runner, or you were just that obsessed, mate. Because god damn it, we know because we're not the biggest Alien fans. We're very more casual fans. But even we know, like the series is not meant to evolve around bloody androids.
The androids are cool in places, but like I don't think too much of them because they're so good of androids. They just look like people. So it's kind of like just another person on screen acting like an android, and it's like, well, I mean, of course that is exactly what it is, and I don't expect anything more. But it's like I want to see a fucking alien eat someone's head off, not an android be like beep boop, I'm clever,
Yeah, I mean, Michael Fassbender did kill it as the android, but I feel like when you sign up to a franchise called Alien, whether you're the creator or not, you owe the audience the alien.
I did like in the Alien Covenant that there was like those different aliens.
Yeah, I like that they changed it up a bit.
Yeah.
I just wish that
they're a lot weaker. They're like have no exoskeleton, but they seemed slightly more sympathetic in a certain way, where they like he did stop and kind of like look at the android for a while.
Yeah,
it seemed quite calm.
You definitely got a sense that it was learning, and in the right hands, maybe this creature could have in some way been tamed. But then again, it always goes back to the same thing of, oh, you kill it on sight, you're going to kill it, it's going to kill you.
Yeah.
And I think just at the end of the day, I was just more disappointed that they skipped over an entire movie's worth of content with the engineers. And I think even Ridley Scott realised that mistake, because I think after the film was released and during the talk of if there was going to be a third film, he said that I think he let slip that the plot would be about a David basically being hunted down by a faction of surviving engineers. And I think he even confirmed the title of the movie, which was going to be called Alien Awakening.
Oh.
And but then he also said that, oh, there's going to be 2 more sequels to this movie. And I'm like, okay, you said this was a trilogy, then you're saying there's going to be two more films. Make up your goddamn mind, mate.
I think it's just running with it, seeing
Yeah.
what's literally throwing shit in the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, and I feel like that was definitely a kick in the backside because since then there's been no talk of doing sequels. I think, for all we know, the project could be dead, which is a shame because I would have really loved to have seen that engineered trilogy. I would have loved to have seen what they
Yeah.
would have done, just a simple story. And there was even plans to do Alien 5. Did you hear about that?
No, not heard about that.
Neill Blomkamp, he directed Elysium and he also made District 9.
Oh, very
Quite
good.
an alright director, I'd say.
Yeah.
He actually released, back in 2015, he released some concept art just as a fun little. I think he did it for a fun project, and then he just released it because he thought it'd be nice for fans to enjoy. It got such a response from the fandom that Warner Bros. Decided to greenlit the film.
Really?
Yeah, and if you look, people can look up the concept art to get an idea of what the story could have been about. But the main meat of it was that it was going to be a retcon sequel. So it was going to take place post Aliens, but ignore the events of 3 and 4. So Newt would
So yeah, get rid of the crap, keep with the good,
Yeah.
and run with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I see why they did that.
Yeah, and
It's a very smart move.
Newt,
No, a lot of people are too scared to do that because like it's stepping on other directors' toes and stuff. But it's like, if you've written a shit stuff, fuck off.
Yeah, I mean, they did the same thing with the Halloween franchise when they did Alien. They did Halloween 2018, and that's essentially a sequel to the first movie compared to the 16 other sequels.
Yeah.
But he was going to make that film, and the film was going to be about Ripley, Newt, and Hicks basically having another encounter with the aliens, and it would have been cool seeing them all 30 years later. But sadly, Warner Brothers pulled the plug on that because, shock of all horror, Ridley Scott stepped in saying, "I want to do my films," so he made Alien Covenant instead, and then they just cancelled the project.
I mean, when I watched Alien Covenant, it was a fun film. There was a couple bits with the flute, that particular scene, which was a bit. I don't know. They could like in that scene they could have used words to not make it weird, and yet he actively chose to make it really weird.
Yeah.
And why? God knows.
They probably thought it'd be funny as hell, but if anything, it's just more like.
It took me straight out of the immersion.
Yeah.
I don't care about flute. Like, they should have replaced that scene with one of the aliens like sneaking into someone's bed and killing him from the inside out or something like that. Like something cool to show me rather than
the Alien franchise has never excelled on its humor. And most the humor they did have was very much blunt humor, I'd like to say, if that makes sense. It was more just characters reacting to the situation, and they would have like a funny quip to try and just ease the tension. But it wouldn't be like MCU humor where it was like, "I'll do the fingering." It's like,
yeah.
Yeah, so that was a completely out of nowhere scene that I'm sure got memed to hell.
Yeah, but like, I guess the words sometimes, like, that is the correct word for like using a wind instrument, is like getting the fingering right. But why did they even have that scene?
Because Ridley Scott loves androids, and he wanted to show how Michael Fassbender could act.
It was both the androids together though. Like
Yeah.
one could play the flute and one couldn't,
Mm.
and that was the whole scene. I think that's what the scene was.
That's what it was, yeah.
And so it's meant to show that this machine has learned this particular skill, so they do have very human like brains, so they can like learn skills that are very complex just through practice and time. So just like humans, so it very, very humanizes them. So I get why he put that scene in, but also it was very, very weird, and it took me right out of the movie. I was like, oh, this is an android film, and not only that, I am sitting in a theater watching a film, and for just before that scene, I was on that planet watching the events unfold. I was fully immersed, and it took me straight out of it.
Yeah.
So I didn't appreciate that scene very much.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things I wished with that franchise, but at this current state, it doesn't look like it's going anywhere until recently. So actually getting to the news now, there's been, I think it was announced back in March that I apologise, I'm butchering the name here, but Fade Alvarez, he's known for making, I mean, at least recently, his best credit is the Evil Dead remake back in 2013. Did you see that?
I heard that was really bad though.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like it compared to the original. I remember watching it and finding it okay, but again, this was like very young me, so
Right, right.
my verdict on movie content was like mixed those days. If I watch it today, I might be more critical, but I can remember enjoying most of it for just being its own entity, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, that's his. Oh yeah, he's also known for creating Don't Breathe. Did you see
Don't
that
Breathe
film?
is excellent.
Yeah, that was an amazing film.
Don't Breathe is an excellent film. I've not seen the sequel to that, but I've seen the first one, and absolutely excellent film.
Hmm. Yeah, so he's been confirmed to be directing a new Alien film. However, they've also revealed this film is not going to be, a sequel film. It's going to be its own standalone entry. It's going to have a
Okay.
completely new cast.
I like
And
that idea. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people don't go for this.
I'm not gonna lie, I would honestly agree at this point because they've been
I wish
trying to
they
do
would do that with
sequels.
Star Wars more,
Mm,
just its own thing, and at a random point of time in the universe, just a Star Wars story. Not like Star Wars story, but with the main cast. Like, no, can we separate from Skywalkers and Obi-Wans? Can we go a couple thousand years in the past to like Darth Malvis and who's the other really big one?
Darth Revan.
Revan. That's it. Um, like all that, there's loads and loads of content there which they just don't touch. So I appreciate that they're just like, let's create a new branch of this kind of thing. What they'll do with that, who knows?
Yeah, there's
Do we have an idea?
as far as we know, no, they've just announced it in March, so there's been no development since, at least as far as I'm aware. And gotta say, I do agree. I think it would definitely be a good step in the right direction. It's a part of me still wants to see Ridley Scott complete his trilogy. At the very least, complete another film and at least have him firmly say, "This is the final film. This is the prequel story over." Because I hate unfinished stories. But in terms of keeping the franchise going, and let's be honest, at the end of the day, I think Sigourney Weaver is quite content to just put this franchise behind her. I feel like this would definitely be a way to start fresh, completely new cast of characters, maybe do something interesting with it that we haven't seen in a while. Because the one thing that I will always be annoyed at unless they do it is we've never gotten to see in the aliens' homeworld because we know that exists.
Yeah.
Again,
Why have they not done that? That's actually a lot of content. If they all been too afraid to do it.
no, there's been points where they've considered doing it. I think Alien 5, sorry, when they was originally they pitched Alien 5 post Alien 4, and it was going to be set on the homeworld, but then they cancelled that and because apparently I think the budget was just too high, and they said just set it on Earth. And
Okay.
then Sigourney Weaver said, "Fuck no, we're not doing an Earthbound story. That would just be like every other Alien franchise film." So she
Yeah.
decided, so they never made that film. And then Neil Blomkamp's Alien 5 film was apparently also going to have some form of connection to the planet. And I'm just basing this off the fact that the film was called Alien Xeno. The first
Xena.
Xeno, I think. And I think that was meant to be the name of the homeworld. Again, people can correct me on this.
So X Xena.
Yeah,
Okay, so two X's.
just one X.
So that's just Xena.
Yeah. Xeno then, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for the correction.
No worries.
But yeah, there's been attempts to do it before, and they've done it in, of course, like spin-off media in the books and the comics. But at the end of the day, we want to see it on the big screen, and they've just never gotten around to doing it. And a lot of fans generally thought that in the prequel films, as they went on, we would see the homeworld because we saw the origins we would have seen the origins in Prometheus on LV-46, and then we would naturally have to find out how did they get that homeworld. That would have been a plot point, I'm assuming. But again, we're probably not going to get that storyline done now, sadly. So if they want to try something different, Here's my pitch: the next Alien film, the solo movie, have it jump like 100 years in the future, and have just these random space voyagers going on a mission, or just like enjoying the galaxy, and they come across the home planet of the aliens, and just explore it. Be a horror movie where instead of it being a stupid haunted house, the world is the haunted house. The planet is like their enemy. I feel like that would be a bold story to tell. It would be difficult because again, you're probably going to kill off a lot of the characters very quickly.
Yeah, yeah. I'm hoping it should be like a massive ship full of people. What if it was a space cruise ship that
What?
was like ran out of fuel or something and had to stop by a nearby planet, and that was Xena?
Yeah, or a
And
colony ship.
yeah, and you just see loads and loads of humans being face hugged and ripped apart by acid. Oh, be so cool.
It'd be quite a spectacle.
Yeah, I think they should just focus on that. Where I feel that that's where a lot of monster films kind of go wrong sometimes, is the monsters don't really do enough, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, and there's also a bit of an add-on here, but they also confirmed they're working on a TV series as well. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not too fussed with that, because I've also had reports that this show is apparently getting along quite recent compared to this new film. Because I think they either started filming recently, or they're beginning to film it in the next few months. But they've confirmed this series will be set on Earth, which again will be
Okay.
a first. But at the same time, it's like, how many alien invading Earth stories have we seen so far? And again, depending on when this is set, this could either break the canon or be good. But again,
I guess if it breaks the canon, you can always say, nah, it's not canon.
yeah, but at the same time, it's still infuriating when it's happening today, when canon is everything sometimes for a story to make sense. And again, I can say the Star Wars sequel trilogy is not canon 24/7, but that doesn't change the fact that it still happened. It's like, you
True.
should have done better. And I feel like with the IP of Alien, they have the chance right now to revitalize it in film and TV, and so they've got a good chance here. So they better not F it up. But the other thing I know about that is that it also might be involving androids. So again, I'm like, okay, more of this maybe.
I mean, I feel like in every Alien film there is an android.
There is, but they've never been the center focus. They've always been like the side antagonist or the ally.
I really don't want it to be the center focus. I want it to just be an ally that the monster ignores because it knows it's not living. So like, he can run around and do stuff on the ship, but the alien is smart enough and will just like chop its head off to like stop it from working. So it's a bit difficult with that one. I just don't want them to focus on the androids and instead focus on the actual monster, the interesting bit, the xenomorph. The alien we hardly know anything about, like, biologically.
Yeah, we will see, I guess. It's going to be a few years likely till both these projects are released. Heck, for all we know, the film might not even happen. But if it does happen, I'm going to really hope they do good, because I really love this brand. I think it has a lot of potential. And who knows, they might still make that prequel movie. They might win me back if that film's good. But if this solo film is all we're going to get, and going forward as well, then I just hope they do it to the best that they can. So, moving on to the next topic. In general, we're talking about games, but I think the best thing for us to talk about would be Bioshock. So you've played the games, haven't you?
I have indeed. I have. I do love Bioshock. It's one of my favourite IPs in games. So my all-time favourite game is Bioshock 1. Strictly because it's got an amazing setting. It's got great gameplay. I never really seem to get bored of the story. I've played that game through about 20 times just because I love it so much. The atmosphere it sets the first time you play it, that was the first time I properly experienced horror in a game. And wow, it took me so long to complete the first level, and now I can just fly through it, of course, because I played it 20 times. But it's just such a fun game, and Bioshock 2 was very, very similar. Was absolutely great setting, great game. You got to play as a Big Daddy this time instead of a human, which was very, very interesting concept. Like the way you gathered Adam in that game instead of like finding little sisters and either converting them or harvesting them for their sweet old life juice. The thing that gives you like upgrade points, you get it from the little sisters themselves. So you still have the same option to rescue or to harvest them, but you have to protect them while they go harvest it because you're a Big Daddy. And you're just trying to find this one little sister that is bonded with you because you're a prototype Big Daddy. And if you stay separated from it for too long, you die. So the whole story is him this Big Daddy trying to find his little sister before he dies. And how you make your choices throughout the game depends on what the ending is like when you finally meet her again. Fantastic game. I really loved everything about it. Not as great as number one. Number one just had a perfect setting. Number two was very fun. I did enjoy it. It had very, very good scenes in it. A very, very memorable game. Every time I play that, I don't seem to recall what the events were, but when I play it through, I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely remember this bit because I just remember it in my mind as being something really, really cool. Or I'll play through number one again and I'll be like, oh, I thought this happens here. Oh no, that's number two, or something like that. I do get them a bit mixed up because they are similar settings, but they are fantastic, phenomenal games. Bioshock Infinite, I do like that game, but it didn't hit home for me because it was just not as dark and dingy as the other games, which is to be expected because it's in the sky. A lot more sun up there compared to underwater, but that's kind of what I liked Bioshock 4 was the dingy, dark grittiness of it. All the like voice recordings of the society falling apart, and before you got there, like the rapture fell apart. So you're trying to figure out as you play on your own side, like lore mission, just to figure out what has actually happened and like why this city is just falling apart to drugs and gang violence and things like that, and everyone's just gone crazy. But with this, they use healthy people, police officers, giant robots, like giant humans with like giant robot hands. Some cool like Big Daddy esque monsters because in the second one they introduced like a new threat, which was the Big Sister, and the Big Sister was a big threat. Like they were no joke; they were hard to kill. But in this one, I did like the fact that I think it was called the Songbird.
Yeah, Songbird. Yeah, I
Songbird.
remember that.
Or just the giant bird, whatever it's called. That was a cool enemy. You never got to fight it.
Oh yeah.
Well, if you did, I don't actually remember. So that's like.
Oh, I think you get to shoot it in the sky, but I don't think there's. I think that's all you get to do. It's
Yeah.
been like over a decade since we played this game, probably.
Yeah.
Well, at least that for me. But yeah.
There was a couple like differences in the game where like again the art style was a lot more bright and happy. Everyone looked clean and healthy, so it felt like just playing another shooter. Whereas Bioshock One, it felt like a absolute adventure. It was great. Like everything was different, but the enemies were crazy strong, like and seemed really scary. There was always a threat there. But with that game, I kind of felt like, eh. The powers seemed pretty rubbish as well. I didn't quite enjoy the plasmid powers in Infinite. The two gun system I didn't quite enjoy. I liked having all my guns in Bioshock 1 and 2. It does create for a more interesting gameplay where you can be like, okay, so I'll have a close range weapon or a long range weapon or two long range weapons. Just change up the play style. I understand that. But you have to get the gun and upgrade it and use points and money for that. And then if you drop that gun for another gun, you have to go upgrade that gun. Sometimes you find a gun with more upgrades. There's just a lot more inventory management, and it kind of took me out of the game. Like I do enjoy games with inventory management and stuff like that sometimes. Like the Resident Evil games are a great example of that. They did it very well. We had to organize your actual inventory spaces, like in a suitcase, to fit everything. But I just don't think it hit as well for me. The story was great. I did really enjoy the story. The ending, not as good as the first two, in my opinion. A lot of people enjoyed Infinite's ending far better, but I thought it was way too like out of nowhere cosmic horror ending kind of thing. Not cosmic horror, just like really baffling, psychedelic, like like a nonsense ending. They kind of like confuse you to the point where it's like, is that the end? It could be.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, thanks.
Yeah, I remember at the time just being disappointed that because I expected it to be either a prequel explaining how this is just me like vaguely remembering something I thought of when I was very young. But when all the trailers were coming out and it was being advertised and it was looking very exciting, I just remember thinking, is this meant to be proto Rapture, where the last mission is going to be like the city falling into the ocean or something?
Yeah.
And of course, it's not that. I mean, the aesthetic is completely different in the first place. But I guess I went in expecting it to be a full-on prequel, and the connections to Bioshock, they are there, and especially in the ending. But I guess I remember just being a bit disappointed in that regard that it was its own story,
Yeah,
if it makes sense. But I haven't played it since.
I I've
I think it's okay, the story now.
I've got a pitch on how they could have made it better.
Oh, really?
So I think the whole story should have been you live on this. I liked the whole detective bit, but you live on the actual floating city um, with everyone there. All of a sudden, from the first game, playing as Jack, if you make the evil decisions in the game and get the bad ending, you actually go to the surface with all the splices and all the fucked up people with powers down there, and you invade the surface and take over like nuclear submarines and things like that. And it does show like a cutscene of you actually taking over a nuclear submarine with splicers. That's not a good combination, but never it got expanded on. I would have, for the pitch, Evil Jack took over, or if you want to avoid like making that character evil or anything, because it is a choice game, you can get another character, whatever.
Yeah, maybe say.
But I would have had like Rapture at war with them, because the whole Earth has been taken over since Jack has like took them to the surface. Everyone has powers. It's complete chaos, and they are safe because they're in the sky.
Mhm.
And it's you trying to like survive while the like loads and loads of onslaught invasions. You're like a general or something of like a private army up there, and then you learn that the prophet is like, I don't know, bad guy. Maybe he's spliced up secretly,
Yeah.
or something, and has all the powers and wants to take out from the inside, and then eventually you save the place.
Yeah, I'm forgetting who the antagonist's name was from the first game, but maybe say he had like a
Oh,
legitimate
it was
family member.
it
Or
was
something.
Frank Fontaine from the first game.
Frank Fontaine,
Andrew
yeah.
Ryan was the red herring bad guy.
Yeah, I can't recall if he had a family or maybe just relatives, but maybe just have in this pitch have like a descendant or a family relative.
I mean, they
of
could
his,
have
maybe
easily done it.
antagonist.
They didn't mention anything about it in the first game, but they could have easily put it in like a voice memo.
Yeah,
Like,
just have a descendant of him be like the antagonist, and have one of Jack's, because he goes on to adopt the kids, the girls at the end in the good ending. So have one of their daughters be a descendant or something,
yeah,
and just have them almost be like repeating history, where you've got this new antagonist, a descendant of the bad guy, saying, "I want this girl," or for whatever reason, insert
Yeah.
plot story here. Or maybe just for a sacrificial sacrifice or something. It's the post-apocalyptic version of Rapture at this point. But I like that pitch, actually. I feel like that would have been quite a very interesting, great direction to take it.
I think gameplay wise, it would have made it a lot more exciting. The gameplay was okay in Infinite. That was probably its saving grace, was the gameplay. The story was much better than the gameplay, actually. I meant the story was the saving grace, and the gameplay was okay. It was playable. Compared to the first two games, it did feel kind of similar, just a bit duller, not as exciting.
Yeah, so okay, now we've got that refresher. This isn't new news, because I believe this is like months old at this point. I think even like last year. No, since 2019, I think.
Really?
But there was
Long time ago.
yeah, but there was talk back in 2019 that a fourth Bioshock game could happen. Again, I'm just remembering this off one article I read somewhere. Can't for the life of me remember, but essentially this article talked about how the next Bioshock game could be happening soon, and that apparently they could be exploring the cosmic horror approach to storytelling.
That would be very, very good. I think that's the next direction for it. Leave water, leave air, and go into space.
Yeah, because
space is the next option, and I think there is actually a game called Prey, which is, I would dub it Space Bioshock. Like, you are on a massive spaceship. Everyone, like, you go into cryosleep and wake up late, and everyone on the ship is basically dead from these aliens called mimics.
Is this Insomnia or Prey?
This is Prey.
Okay, because that sounds like a similar
unless it's very similar. Yeah, I've not actually played Insomnia, but there's like mimics that turn into like furniture. So you walk by it and it jumps out at you, and it's fucking scary. So you're constantly walking by and shooting dustbins and shit. Just like, it was quite that was a very fun game. The story was a bit dull. It could have done with a better story, which is why I wouldn't put it as iconic as one of the first or second like Bioshock games. But yeah, it's if Bioshock 4 does happen, I would love to see a space based one.
Yeah, because isn't Bioshock, wasn't that meant to be a spiritual successor to System Shock?
Yes, yes, it was. Uh, I've not actually played Systems Shock, but I've seen a video on basically what the gist of the story is.
Yeah, so essentially they could just basically like take that as a blueprint, just like make it make it its own game still. I
Yeah,
mean, I agree. I feel like space would be the next best thing, unless they want to steal your pitch.
I mean, do it. Yeah, I would love to play that game, to be fair, and I don't have the means to make the game. So, yeah, take my pitch. I don't care if you don't pay me. Like, it's free. I've put it out there. Take it. Not copyrighted. Go ahead. If you want to make a game out of that, just send me the link to play it. That's all I ask. I'll pay you money.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It might happen, might not happen, but if it does happen, I hope they do the story justice, because the first two games, they are amazing.
Yeah.
And I really feel like if they do another one, they cannot Mass Effect it.
Oh, yeah, Mass Effect. Yeah, let's not get into that.
New. Let's move on to another game that's a long way away from coming out, but I'm sure you might have heard of it. Have you seen the trailer they put out for Star Wars Eclipse?
I have indeed, yes.
What did you think of it?
I think it looks cool. Interesting way of. I think obviously it's a very cinematic trailer. It doesn't really show anything of how the game is actually going to be. They're just setting up what the universe is going to look like. I think it's going to be kind of either a third person or a first person adventure game. Whether you're a force wielding person or not is to be debated. I think what will end up happening is it will have nothing to do with lightsabers and stuff, and it will continue. I'm not. Do you know what timeline Eclipse is set in? Is it said?
Off the top of my head, I don't remember, but I think it's meant to be set in the past, because you see
In
Yoda.
past?
You
Okay.
see.
Oh, you see Yoda. Okay, so Clone Wars era.
Maybe not. Maybe further back than that, because we know Yoda's been like around for a long time.
Is it Yoda or just one of his type?
It is definitely Yoda.
Okay.
But a lot of the imagery was definitely before the events of Phantom Menace. So this is definitely going to be a prequel movie. Well, a prequel game, but it's not a prequel. It's its own story.
I think it will be set like up and coming to the Clone Wars then.
I feel like it's definitely going to be further back than that, because a lot of the imagery to me just.
I guess like Yoda is very old. It could be. It could be. If you say Yoda, it could be hundreds of years in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think they could do a lot with that then. I like that idea. The clones wouldn't have been made by then, so no one expect Clone Troopers, please, because they got made during the second film.
Yeah, you've got plenty of Battlefront games to get your clone fix.
Yeah.
Let's see something original.
Yeah.
So you're looking forward to it?
I'm looking for. Well, I don't know what the game is going to be because they haven't announced anything. They have just pretty much released that teaser, and from that teaser only showed us what the game engine is going to be like. Other than that, I don't really have any expectations, and I don't want to be disappointed, so I don't want expectations. But if it's a cool Star Wars game, I'll play it. I'm hoping it will turn out kind of like Witcher 3 Star Wars. Like something, I don't know, that good storyline, adventure, open world, lots of side missions to do, lots of like nice story details. It will most likely turn out to be a linear story, I think, rather than an open world story. But I'll be happy with that as long as it's written well. So yeah, I don't really expect too much from what the actual new Star Wars game is, but it does look cool from just that one trailer.
Yeah, I feel like the trailer has the potential. The game has the potential to be really good. The story, I hope it's really good too. I think because from what it shows, it looks like it's going to be, as you said, possibly having multiple storylines. And I'm really curious to see what this race is, this new species is. Because I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think they don't have information on them as of yet. So this could be a completely new species of alien that were going to be introduced, and that could have a big storyline that's going to be bring them into the larger story of Star Wars.
Yeah.
I do wonder if they're going to be connected at all to I apologise for expanded universe fans here, but I'm going to butcher the name. I'm not really sure this is even the name, but I think the Shin or the Sheev, the Shin or something. But basically, they were
Someone out there might know what you're talking about.
yeah. Essentially, they were a race of aliens that came along post Return of the Jedi, and there was an entire series of books and comics dealing this big war between the original cast of Star Wars and this alien race, and they were considered to be a very formidable race of warriors because they could, I think, resist force power. I think again
They have a resistance to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they were a very dangerous race to deal with, and there's been a lot of talks recently that all the TV shows of Star Wars currently being made, despite being if they're good or bad, a lot of them seem to be implying that they might be leading up to a big conflict with Thrawn and the heroes like the Mandalorian, Luke, Ahsoka, and some think that they might introduce this race as like the main front of an army, or like as the antagonists themselves. We don't know yet because that's still a long ways away if that is the plan. But if this is actually meant to be inspired by this variant of the species, it could be an interesting way to tell the story.
Yeah.
And if it is successful and popular, they could expand this into other stuff too. I mean, Jedi Fallen Order was very successful, and already we've got people saying we want Cal Kestis to come into the main films, to the main story, because they've got a great actor in the role. They can easily just bring him in for a cameo in a series and then have his own show spin off.
And also, if they make another race, it just expands the universe a bit. Like playing Star Wars: The Old Republic, where you can like make your own characters, more of an MMO. It would be nice to have like a new race in there, like for those types of games. All the Star Wars games in the future, you might be able to play as that kind of race. I'm kind of hoping it's a create your own character kind of story in this Star Wars Eclipse, because I do enjoy those. I really enjoy the immersiveness of that. But yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think this is me going back to my my own headcanon here. I really do wish that I told you this already. I think I told you this. My version of how I would have preferred the sequel trilogy. In short, I feel like do you remember the Darth Sidious's master?
What was his name again?
I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah.
Hold on. Darth Plagueis, that's it. Does that ring a bell?
Yes, that does ring a bell, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he should have been Snoke at the end of the day. I'll just leave it at that. I'm sure people can find those past episodes about that discussion. But I feel like if he had been the main antagonist in the sequels and he looked the way he did, if that was his redesign for the character, I could easily see this race of species that we see in this trailer be an offshoot of his race. So if that would have been a fun way to tie this to the bigger world of Star Wars, have this and have Snoke's species be like very present in this game, and that would have been a cool way. Because I think they did a similar thing with Jedi Fallen Order, where when they were making Episode 9, when Colin Trevorrow was directing it, he had a new Sith species or a race that was very influenced by the Sith. They appeared in the movie. They mentored Kylo, who was the main bad guy in that movie.
Yeah.
And then he kills him, Sith Rule of 2. And they actually used that design of an alien for the game. So you encounter a race of aliens that have a very similar design to that.
Are they called Pure Sith? Because there is a race of aliens in Star Wars: The Old Republic called the Pure Sith. And they are basically, if you're one of those, everyone treats you nicer in the Sith side of it. Well, not nicer because they are all cunts, but it's more the fact that you don't get called like an alien. They say my liege and stuff like that. So they do look up to that race, so it could possibly be them.
Maybe
they might actually have a name, but I call them Pure Sith.
Yeah,
because they've mentioned that as what they are a few times.
This day and age, there's so much information. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if half the stuff we've said already is bloody ridiculous.
It will be all debunked by tomorrow.
Yeah. But yeah, this game has potential. I look forward to playing it one day. But again, from what I heard, apparently they've pushed it back to 2028 or 9 or something.
Ooh.
So either they really want to make it good, or they're really doing bad and they want to have enough time to fix their mistakes. But we will see, I guess.
We'll see.
So moving away from games now, something that I think you were both eager to talk about: Jurassic Park.
Oh.
Now, this is actually, in a sense, this episode now it becomes a sequel to your very first episode.
Yeah.
Because we actually talked about the last Jurassic Park film and the series itself at that point.
I think we made a couple predictions as well.
Yeah,
although I'd have to go back and re-listen to it to see what I said.
Yeah, I feel like my prediction.
I would have been wrong.
Yeah, I feel like I remember my prediction, and I remember mine was, of course, completely wrong because they wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And because I predicted that they would make it be about. They would make it basically a post-apocalyptic story where the dinosaurs have taken over the world.
See, that's what I was going in expecting. Because that's what you would expect from dinosaurs that have just been released into planet Earth. Like, I guess, like, nowadays with modern technology, we could invent ways to, like, make the animals go somewhere else via electric fields, via, like, guns, via heavy armories and stuff like that. The dinosaurs don't really stand a chance with modern technology. But I would have liked to see where something went wrong with their genetics and they completely overpopulate, or they just like make it double as much as they would do, you know? Because what could beat technology is pure numbers.
Yeah. Fallen Kingdom definitely set it up for failure because there was a lot of plot holes in that movie, including, I think one of the big ones was that there was only like a handful of dinosaurs saved on the island.
Yeah.
And the implication was that, they're now going to be out there and take over, or like, at least blend in with, not blend in, they're essentially going to become one with society, essentially, like how you see tigers and lions and bears these days.
Yeah.
But then you realise only like at most 50 got out. How are they going to be able to repopulate and take over?
Yeah.
And I think I can't even remember if they explained it in the movie, but I think they did the thing where we predicted they would do, where they just say, there was other scientists who did a similar thing and they let their species run or something, or maybe just people cloned their own versions again. I can't remember. I can't even remember most of the plot of the movie.
It was the most recent Jurassic World was absolute rubbish. Dominion was terrible. I hated that film. Every second I was in the cinema, I consulted standing up and leaving.
Really?
Because it was that boring. I didn't enjoy any of it. Like, it was kind of cool seeing the old cast, but it was kind of like they actually met for real life as actors. Like, they were kind of like, hey, how you doing? Cool. Let's go do dinosaur things again. And they made the whole focus about the cast and not the dinosaurs and locusts.
Oh my god.
Who in a dinosaur film? I want to know what the board meeting sounded like, where they all sat around and was just like, "Do you know what's cooler? Do you know what? No one wants to see dinosaurs nowadays. No one wants to see it. Do you know what they want to see? Genetically modified locusts."
God damn it!
Like, it would have been cool if, like, because there was this whole conspiracy of the big bad doing it because they wanted only their wheat to be sold, which is very fucking weird whole concept to that film, which I did not enjoy. Did not need to be there. It was very boring. It is interesting with like big pharma taking over and stuff, like one company ruling the world, but like it's rubbish. It's rubbish, isn't it? It's not what you wanted to see. You wanted to see post-apocalyptic dinosaur land.
I feel like this definitely undersold the Jurassic World approach to it, because I think they said from the beginning the plan with this new trilogy was to show by the end of it that people aren't bored of dinosaurs. But this film pretty much just says, the threat of the dinosaurs isn't the dinosaurs, it's locusts and the bad organization.
But the thing is, those locusts weren't really dinosaurs. They were just genetically modified locusts.
Yeah.
I don't even think they were like primal locusts. I'm not even sure what they were. Maybe it was a genome of them. But like, that is not interesting. Like, big insects. Like, it should have been a part of the film, but not the whole focus of the film.
Yeah, I mean, I think they clearly did their research, so I'm sure they put a lot of effort into this concept. But at the end of the day, for the final film in this franchise that was advertised as like this is the end all storyline you have to be there to see with this all the characters that you love, I feel like they definitely missed the mark with that one. For me, I honestly first viewing, I was okay at the first few minutes. I really liked how they focused on Alan, Ellie, and I can't remember. I would just call him Jeff because
Jeff.
he is Jeff Goldblum at the end of the day.
Oh right, yeah, I forgot his actual like name in that, but we'll call him Jeffy Goldie.
Yeah, seeing them together again was by far the best bit about the movie.
Jeff Goldblum was the best bit about the movie.
Mm.
I loved him.
Yeah, and also as not predicted but as hopeful, I'm glad they split Ellie up with her then boyfriend, the husband or whatever, and they got them back together in this movie.
Yeah, I also feel like one thing that was wrong with that film is they spent the entire film making callbacks to the last films. Like, you have so much material here. Why are you going back? You need to go forward. Forget about the old cast. Like, it was nice to see them, but make a new story with them. Don't be like, oh yeah, do you remember when this happened? Or similar scenes where the car like is hanging over the edge, and he's like, this is familiar. Or like, just loads of scenes which were just like, this is meant to be a nod to the first or second film or something, you know. And they needed to step away from that, in my opinion. They did it too much. It would have been nice to see it maybe once, but I saw it at least 5 times.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be seeing that. I want to see dinosaurs eat people. And I barely saw that.
I feel like the weakness of the movie was the cast. And I'm not talking about the classic characters. I mean the new characters. Because, I'll just say it, Chris Pratt's character, Owen, and Claire, and Maisie, I could not give a damn about them.
Yeah, they're kind of rubbish. Like in Fallen Kingdom, I did like Chris Pratt's character. When I watch it again, I don't like it, and now that I've seen the new film, I hate it. It just every single time a dinosaur appears, he does the hand sticky out thing, where it's like, "Whoa, girl," and then they just seem to be like, "Okay."
That does it.
Hands don't do fucking shit when a wild animal like approaches you.
He should be joining Sam Jackson in the group of people who lost their hands to creatures, to monsters.
Yeah,
because like I think that even Colin Trevorrow, who wrote all these bloody movies, should realize that the only reason Baloo and the other dinosaurs listened to Owen when he did the hand signal was because he trained them from birth.
Yeah.
Why would this random T-Rex or this random dinosaur that he finds in a marketplace who he's never met before would listen to him just putting his hand out?
Yeah, no, they wouldn't waste a second to gobble him up. That's the thing. And they kind of were taken aback by the hands, and they were like big predators.
Yeah, they even made a point to make the old cast do the same thing as if it's like a big moment of the series or the scene where it's like
they're all doing the hand thing now. They're invulnerable to dinosaurs. That's how you beat them. It's just like hold your hand out. That's why they died out. Worst predators ever.
Yeah,
but another thing that would have been cool that I think they should have brought up is the fact that we haven't seen Jurassic insects, and they are just massive insects with like huge, like just massive, because oxygen was so abundant, greenery got bigger, and therefore the wildlife got bigger. So they could have done stuff where like the fauna started taking over, so that the big herbivores had more of a food source, and it actually invaded people's homes and stuff like that, and it actually made it like a really hard, like horrible plant to deal with their crops. They could have done that instead of locusts as just like a side nod, and then they could have done like, oh yeah, there's like our planetary ecosystem is falling apart because all our elephants has now been eaten by T-Rexes. Raptors have hunted down all of our horses. Instead, they kind of did, the dinosaurs coexist, happy.
Yeah, and the evil organization is the bad guy. I feel like the film retreads certain grounds that make it very uninteresting. The characters don't sell. I mean, again, Chris Pratt, Owen's character. I liked him in his first film because you didn't know much about him, but you knew he was a raptor trainer, so there was a lot of potential of his character, especially if he was, the fan theory that we all talked about in your first episode was that he could be that one kid from the first Jurassic Park film growing up, but they never
Yeah,
took advantage of that, even in this movie. And then in the second film, in Fallen Kingdom, they just repeat a lot of their storylines. They just have
yeah,
him once again break up with Claire off screen, and they spend the entire movie pining after each other. And it's all about, oh, get Blue back. But it's like, okay, is there anything interesting about you other than your obsession with dinosaurs?
yeah,
And then in this film, it's sort of repeated with just trying to find the baby dinosaur now, and just finding Maisie. And even with Claire, I just feel like again her character. She was one thing in the first movie, a shrewd businesswoman. In the next film, she's an activist. In this film, she's an action star. It's like I get that you want to have growth of your characters, but it still feels like there's not enough of a connection to
yeah,
even at least make me feel invested. And I think the main thing was just like the child actress Maisie's character as well, because I bloody hated the clone storyline in the last movie, and they
yeah.
continue that as a main plot point in this movie. And my God, I am so sorry. I hope this actress all the best. I hope she goes on to do great stuff. But my God, she was terrible. And
Was she trying to do like an English accent as
I,
well?
I can't I don't know if she was English or it was just her trying to be in English, but she just did not sell me as a character.
Yeah.
Every time she delivered the line, especially when she was trying to be upset or angry, I just felt like, oh my God, I paid $20 to take my dad to see this, and we should have gone to see Top Gun Maverick.
Sorry, you paid $20? You mean pounds?
Pounds, yeah. God damn it, bloody English.
That's how much we've been influenced by Western TV.
But yeah, that bloody clone subplot. Oh my God, they once again bloody retcon it, saying that you were not a clone of your mother. You had a mother, and she was one who created Jurassic Park. So all the stuff that you love, all that nostalgia, everything about those old movies, it's all thanks to her. It's like, fuck off. Fuck off! Just let John Hammond have his dream, okay? I get it. You need to have expanding stuff, and sure, it's okay to explore stuff like, oh, he had a assistant like in the last movie. He was bloody boring too, but at least you can somewhat acknowledge that. But to have it in the last movie, then say, oh, this was the person that helped set everything in motion for this series, and it's like, fuck off.
Yeah, it was kind of like they forced like a bow to be tied upon the top of that film, just being like, there we go, all done, pat pat.
And I think the only fun thing about that bit was that it was cool to see because in those brief video bits you see like the mother as a young girl played by Maisie, of course, the same actress. You have her on location at Site B, which is a site from the second and third film. So that was a cool bit of connective tissue there. It was nice to see those locations again in a different light. But
Yeah.
that aside, though, I feel like everything about this story just was unnecessary. And at most, I would have just preferred if they just did the Apocalypse one.
Yeah, that's
As-
kind of what I wanted to see. I wanted to see dinosaurs going about and causing chaos. But instead, in the first 10 seconds of the film, or the first like 20 minutes of the film, we just see dinosaurs coexisting with humans almost. And it's like, that is absolutely not what would happen. And it's just sad that they missed so many opportunities to tell this dumb locust story for no goddamn reason, all to make that scientist guy that was the bad guy in the last few films to just see the error in his ways and become good.
Even that's a bit jarring.
That was just kind of like, I don't care if you're good or bad. Like, I don't care if you like become good again. Like, I just don't care about your character. I want to see dinosaurs. I don't want to see the scientists that made the dinosaurs. That's boring. Yeah, no, it was a rubbish film.
Yeah, I didn't like a lot of the new characters. That pilot girl, whatever her character's name was, she could have been a completely. If this movie was made 20 years ago, I'm confident she would have been killed by the dinosaurs.
Oh yeah.
But you just know that they kept her in because they couldn't kill her off. They couldn't in this day and age where they need to be progressive and be like, oh, for empowerment for characters, and we need to have, oh, and she's also black, so you can't fall into that stereotype. It's like,
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything interesting about her other than the fact that she's a pilot? Because they do somewhat go there where she like doesn't help them. She's just looking out for herself, and that makes sense. Considering
Yeah, no,
they touched upon
I did
that
like
side of the world,
I did
but then
like
they
that
just
bit.
have a change of heart, and it's like, oh, you have a kid, that your kid, okay, I'll help you,
Yeah.
and there's just like there's nothing else interesting about her. And the fact that they even came out and said, "Oh, we might do a spin-off movie about her because she's such a very interesting character." I'm like,
I wasn't
okay.
really invested in her character. Like she was like the coolest character in there. So she blew Owen out the water. She was way cooler. Um, Mainly because she was flying a really old beat up plane, and I like that idea.
Really? Because I personally feel like they could have done without her because we know Owen has
I mean,
military
they could have
training.
absolutely done without that character because it did not add anything to the story,
Exactly.
and the character was very, very bland and boring because her whole shtick was just written about her being a pilot, and that's not very interesting. Like a lot of the films that do a similar thing give the character a lot more depth than that. And she got introduced kind of like halfway through the movie. Surprise! Here's your like brand new main character. She saves everyone. Do you love her now? Do you love her now? It's kind of like I don't care. I didn't see enough people getting eaten by dinosaurs, so I didn't care what happened halfway through that movie.
You know what I would have preferred? Have Owen just be the one who can pilot the plane because we know he has military experience. Why not say that he has that experience with flying aircrafts? And you know what they could have done? They could have spent that screen time with him and Claire, and they talk about their past. Let us get to know these characters outside of the current situation. Because
Yeah,
again, they did not do any of that in the previous films with these characters. So let us see these characters interact, grow connected together. Because fuck it, it's the last movie. They've already established that they're in a relationship now. Sure, have him just reveal that, oh, there's some stuff you didn't know about me. Just go that route, make it interesting. And you know what? I would have loved it still if they, even if it was last minute, have him when they meet up with the old cast, have Alan Grant look at him and go, you look familiar, and have him just say, oh yeah, you taught me how to respect dinosaurs, and yeah, that's it. That's the theory confirmed. He's the kid from the first movie. Sure, that would have been a very nice nostalgic moment. That would have felt like, wow. So this was all part of this great storyline. And sure, of course it was in the end of the day.
yeah,
If that did happen still, I'm sure the rest of the film would have still been bad. But if they could get away with just giving us character moments that made us care and feel invested in this world of these characters, and then give us more dinosaur stuff that we would have wanted to see, I feel like this could have worked. I still think there's because the people who worked on these movies, especially Colin Trevorrow, I feel like he does come at these stories with a sense of passion. He clearly does care about the brand. But I do feel like maybe it's a Hollywood thing, maybe it's the directors themselves or the writers. Maybe they just don't have that insight to tell those kind of stories. Or maybe it's just because they don't think of them. Because I feel like we could think of 3 Jurassic Park related stories that could be their own movie. And yet,
yeah.
for some reason, they've always just fallen back on, okay, let's repeat 50% of the stuff in the last 6 movies, and let's do all this other stuff that's not even really interesting, but we can somewhat twist it to make it somewhat interesting. It's
Yeah,
like,
because it feels like they're trying to do it because they're thinking about money, and what was good about the last, like, they didn't see what was good about the last, like, Jurassic Park films. They just saw like certain scenes and was just like, yeah, let's repeat that in the new film, and let's have a lot of like funny moments with the old cast and stuff like that. That was very like reminiscent to the old things, just because it worked before, so it's going to work again and make us a lot of money. Because everything's about money these days, but they're missing the point where if they take a risk and they do a different story, I feel like they'll get a lot more money because a lot of people would enjoy it and maybe see it not once but twice. Maybe people will be like, "Oh, you guys have got to see this," instead of me telling all my friends. They were like, "Oh, how was the film?" And I'll be like, "Oh, it's rubbish. Don't even bother." And they'll be like, "Okay, cool. You saved me some money." Like if you actually made a good film, you make a lot more money, rather than just taking the safe option a lot of the time. And they did just go for a safe option,
mm,
but I even feel like they took a massive risk by doing less with dinosaurs. Like they took risks, but in the wrong direction.
yeah.
Um, and at the end of the day, it's it's all because of money. It failed. It failed in my eyes. I don't know if it actually failed due to profits, but for me, failed. Rubbish. Get out of here.
Speaking and talking about not talking about failures, but concluding, I guess, after this failure, there's been no talks for now that they're working on more films, but I think they have acknowledged that they might make more. At least if they do make more, it's going to be with a completely new cast. So who knows? They might, if they're going to make more, they might go the same route as the Alien franchise, where they'll do a completely new cast. But what I want to ask you now is, what do you think they could do with the brand going forward?
Make it more about dinosaurs, less about people. Like, if you want to make it good, just make it like scary. Make it more about the dinosaurs taking over the world. More about like anything about how the dinosaurs interact, and just focus more on the goddamn feature of the film, which is the dinosaurs, and less about the people doing and old cast members. Get rid of that crap. Please do not bring back the old cast members. Please. They've had enough, and we've had enough of them.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like the Jurassic World trilogy could have worked if we had the old cast in them, and they just did a good story. What they did do, they like introduced new characters, and then they returned to the old cast for the last film. That could have still worked.
It feels like they were working on something, and then looked at Spider-Man No Way Home, and was like, "Okay, everyone loved that. Let's do that with these guys."
I actually think this film was made before COVID, so they probably didn't have that.
Okay, right.
But I think they definitely took a lot of inspiration from
that's
other
what I
franchises.
felt. That's what I felt like it was doing. And that's obviously not good.
Yeah, they definitely played the nostalgia card, and it didn't help in their favour. I think, if anything, I feel like this film going forward, people will remember the old cast the most, but that's not saying much because they're tied to the Locust storyline, and that's just not fun. It's not interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me going forward, I feel like I agree. I definitely think that if they're going to do another 3 movies, expand the main franchise, you know what? Take a bloody risk this time and jump forward 100 years or an unspecified amount of time, and do essentially make The Last of Us. I've said this before. Make it The Last of Us, but with dinosaurs. Have it focus on a new cast of characters in a new era where dinosaurs have become part of the world, but they've also taken over because makes sense reasons logic.
Yeah.
And have basically be a new story. Have the first movie be a new story about these characters basically living in this new environment, how they deal with daily life, trying to fight and live with dinosaurs and coexist. And then maybe they can do some interesting stuff with a few survivors of the old era or something, trying to initiate an extinction again, where they can take over, man can take over again. I mean, that backstory there you could expand into another trilogy, but I feel like that's one direction they could go, as opposed to another. Let's repeat the last 5 movies, and let's just have Owen Grady and Claire come back and cameo. It's like,
oh, please no, I don't want that. They can. I won't be seeing the film if the trailer even has a hint of that shit.
Yeah, I think they've also said they might be working on another on a live action show as well. But again,
a show could be interesting, but it depends how they do it. Because do you remember Primal?
Yeah,
that was good. That was good, like for its time. I did enjoy, like, it was very dinosaur.
Primeval, you mean?
Sorry, Primeval. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was like a good show, and that had like some dinosaur bits. Obviously, not all dinosaur, because it was
that was pretty much a dinosaur show.
Yeah,
but I love that show. We should have another discussion all about that show. But yeah, that was definitely a show that I loved growing up, and I really wish they'd gone forward with a 6th season.
Yeah, so if it's anything kind of like how that show works, then yeah, it would work. But knowing writers these days, absolutely not going to be about that.
No. Again, sort of similar with Alien, it has potential to be better, especially considering the current stuff they've put out. But you have to have a very creative fan on there, and hopefully they'll be able to do something good with the brand, because it is a great brand. I will always love the first movie. I have a soft spot for the 2 sequels, but I think reiterating what I said back in your very first episode, I'm confident that the franchise could have been so much better if they just gone in a few different directions, made the story a bit more, interconnected, and at the end of the day, just given us Jurassic World.
Yeah,
But yeah, for now, we'll see, I guess.
we'll see.
So, mate, moving on to the next thing, Marvel. So, how would you say your current state is with Marvel? What have you seen, the film wise, the show wise, and what's your thoughts on it?
So with Marvel, I've seen pretty much all of first phase, apart from Ant-Man and Ant vs the Wasp. I should get around to watching those, but I've seen every other one: Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Avengers 1, Age of Ultron, all the way up to Endgame. And I've seen Loki the TV show. I've seen uh, Black Widow the film. I've seen what other Marvel shows are there?
Well, there's
Oh,
WandaVision.
WandaVision. Seen that. Seen WandaVision. And
What
there was
if?
and then What If? Yeah, and there was one more show I think I've watched as well.
There's Hawkeye. We had Moon Knight, and we've got She-Hulk currently, I believe, and we've got some other stuff coming out as it goes on. So you've seen most of them.
Oh, and Winter Soldier and
Oh
Captain
yeah,
America or whatever that was called.
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, and that.
Yeah. So you. So how about recently? What have you seen in the recent movies?
I've seen Thor: Love and Thunder recently, particularly that film. Yeah,
Yeah, that was a
about
movie.
that film.
That was a bad movie in my opinion.
See, I quite enjoyed it. Like, I understand why people think it's bad because, like, it's not a great film. But I just love that Chris Hemsworth went off on one and just made Thor the funniest character ever. And I just found the whole thing hilarious. It was great comedy, not a great like superhero film, not a great like uh, addition or add on. Like I don't feel like anything really progressed apart from Thor as a character, like just personality wise. Like he didn't get any stronger. He didn't really get any weaker.
Yeah, I personally feel like the film was a complete miss. I didn't like the amount of humor they tried shoving in there. I feel like the decision to include Jane Foster as Mighty Thor was. I get that what they were trying to go for, I guess, and I could have seen it done well in some way, but I feel like that would have worked better as a mini series. Have it be focused on just Jane, have Thor come in as in a recurring role, and then leave Thor to go on his own adventure with his films because again, I haven't read the comic, but I've had it in glimpses, and I've read a bit of history about the character of Gore, the God Butcher,
Mm.
and the storyline he is introduced in is by far such a drastically different story compared to the tone that this film was going for.
Yeah,
And I feel like that completely clashed with everything.
yeah,
And it was
definitely.
to add in that they got Christian Bloody Bale to play the villain, which is amazing.
Yeah, he killed that role. He was the best bit about that film. But
Even he was inconsistent because one
yeah,
minute you've got him doing this very serious, oh, I've lost my daughter and the gods that I've worshipped all my life, they're assholes and I'm now going to exact revenge. To the next bit, he's now, hey kids, I loved my daughter to death. You, on the other hand, even though you're kids, I'm going to torment you with this severed head. It's like, it's a sort of odd thing to do to a character who literally was introduced as being someone who loves children and would not do anything to meaningfully spiritedly hurt them.
yeah,
And it's just like I think again we could go on for an entire rant about Thor. I don't want to because I don't want to waste the energy. But in short, it's bad enough compared to your own movie when it's the same people working on this film, so there's no excuse in terms of quality, and yet the previous movie did much better. I mean, I just the thing that comes to mind is just that scene when, if you remember the Thor Ragnarok,
yeah.
but
Great film.
when they have, it's a great film, yeah, with perfect balance, I'd say. And in that film, do you remember that scene where Thor is trying to get in contact with Heimdall, and he says, "Let me see through your eyes," and it just focuses on Heimdall for a second, getting very intense, and then it cuts to Thor with his eyes closed, and he opens and he's got Heimdall's eyes.
Yeah,
And then the next scene, he's now with Heimdall, and he can see through what he's seeing. That's a perfect way to show us how that transition happened. With this movie, they just have Thor hear a voice, and they go, "Thor, Thor, it's me. He turns around and it's just a floating head of a kid.
Yeah,
It's
that
like-
was a bit weird.
It's like that.
I guess it's because he doesn't know how to control his powers best.
But they could have still done that better than just like, here's a floating kid head who clearly is just standing on a green screen saying lines, and Thor is clearly not seeing him. It's like, how, if it was their attempt just to be funny, just like such a random sudden scene, it's like, I'm sorry, it's like, you guys need to rein in your humour. You need to rein in your director, because my God, that movie was so exhausting.
Was a picture perfect Tiger Waititi film there. Like, it was exactly what I would expect from him as a director. So, I mean, I didn't go in with any other expectations other than that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a comedy, not a superhero film, which is fine.
I was very disappointed, to say the least.
Yeah.
If anything, that film actually made me appreciate Doctor Strange 2 a lot more, because gone a bit of a tread to that too. I originally didn't like it, Doctor Strange 2. I personally
I remember you saying you didn't enjoy it when we watched it, and I thought it was amazing.
I personally felt like it didn't live up to its title. I feel like they didn't explore the multiverse enough. And I feel like mostly because everything they talked about the movie leading up to its release, and even like 3 years in advance, they said it was going to be their first horror movie. They said it was going to be exploring the multiverse. And I get they probably, considering we now know what's coming, I feel like they probably did want to save a lot of that stuff for the big hitters. But at the same time, I still feel like they could have done something of a similar ilking with this movie. But as is, I just feel like they missed the mark. I didn't really care much for a lot of the new stuff with America Chavez. She's not bad, but she's not a character that I really am interested in. Her power is the only thing that really stands out. And Wanda, my God,
she was terrifying in that film.
She was great, but I feel like again, I don't know if you heard about this, but they apparently you know what, I was going to go into a big explanation about what the original plot of this movie was, but I can give a link to a better person who can go into more in depth about that, so people can listen to that. But in short, that film, Wanda was more of a good guy, and she becomes a bad guy at the end of the movie in the original script,
right.
And then that leads her to become a villain for a future Avengers movie. I felt like they should have stuck with that.
That is a cool idea, I guess, but I always have wanted to see Doctor Strange and Wanda fight.
Yeah, and I feel like we still could have gotten that, but I feel like this movie, it just, again, I don't want to. Again, I feel like we owe people a deeper explanation, but at this point we've been talking for over an hour, so we'll probably talk about this another time. But as now, for current present, I feel like Doctor Strange did not live up to itself. But I feel like after seeing Thor, I appreciate it a lot more. And who knows, maybe after seeing the complete Phase 5 and 6 film roster, maybe we'll think differently. Well, I'll think differently, because we've got coming up quite some interesting films. So they announced, of course, Phase 5 and 6. They've confirmed it's going to be called the Multiverse Saga.
The Multiverse Saga, I like that.
And among a few, we know Black Panther will be coming out later this year. That's going to conclude Phase 4.
Okay, that's going to be the end of Phase 4. Okay.
And starting Phase 5, we'll get Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, The Marvels, Blade, Captain America: New World Order. So we're finally getting a Captain America sequel.
Good.
Thunderbolts, which has been a long time coming at this point.
Thunderbolts?
Did you not know the Thunderbolts? They're basically the anti-Avengers.
Oh.
They're basically
I didn't know they were called the Thunderbolts. I knew about the anti-Avengers.
Yeah, I think there is
the Captain America from the TV show.
Yeah, Captain what's his name?
Carter?
No, not Captain, is that Agent US Agent, that's it, that's his name.
US Agent, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be like the Captain America of the bad guys.
Yeah, and it's gonna have Abomination in it. We'll probably have Zemo in it.
See, I'm looking forward to that, because when the Avengers clash with them, that'll be cool.
Yeah, that's a film fans have been waiting for years, and I'm really hopeful for that one. That's really going to be exciting. I just hope that, again, it lives up to its potential as a story, because you've got the anti-Avengers. It's going to basically be the Avengers, but with all their villains.
Yeah.
So use that to their advantage. You've got some great characters there, especially with Zemo. So use it to their advantage. After that, we'll be entering Phase 6, and that's so far there's a few more spots that might come up, but for now the films that have been confirmed is Fantastic Four,
Brilliant.
and after that we've got the next two Avengers movies, which are going to be coming out in the same year, which will be interesting. And they're going to be called Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars.
Oh, Secret Wars. Finally.
Yeah.
Finally. It'll be a long time away still, but Secret Wars holds a special place in my heart.
Same. I remember buying the comic book to that Forbidden Planet when I was like very young, and I still remember it to this day, reading through that comic and thinking, oh, I would love to see Spider-Man team up with the X-Men and fight Doctor Doom. And now it's like, that could happen now. That we could be seeing that happen in the next 3 years. And just to add in a few of those film rosters, these films aren't confirmed yet to be coming out, but they might slip them in if they get them in development in development in time. But those that are expected to come out within the next few years or so are also an untitled Spider-Man 4 film.
Ooh.
Because we know that's getting a sequel. And
first one of its kind.
That'll be a first. So they'll have high expectations for that. Want to live up to not only just the previous trilogy, but also the reputation, because we've never had a fourth Spider-Man film with live action actors so far. So that will be hopefully exciting. I actually talked about this previously in a few videos ago, so if anyone's curious about what I think could the plot be about, they can watch those. But in short, I hope it involves either Venom or at the very least the symbiote.
What, Carnage?
No, Venom, the symbiote.
Oh, right. Okay, Venom, the symbiote.
Yeah, who knows though, considering what the roster is now, maybe they might even hold off on that. They'll make it a simple Spider-Man street, fighting the streets, protecting the streets, fighting, Kingpin maybe. And maybe
Kingpin's a cool villain, but he's not the coolest. They could definitely do better than that. There's
true.
A lot of cool Spider-Man villains. I reckon it will involve I've forgotten his name, the Hunter.
Kraven the Hunter?
That's it, yeah.
I don't think so, because we know he's getting his own solo movie.
Oh, is he?
Year.
Okay, right. So that won't happen then.
And it's being made by Sony, who, if you know the reputation of Morbius, it's like,
right,
yeah, that might be a hit or miss, honestly. But I feel like they might introduce the Scorpion, because he was introduced in Homecoming, and we haven't seen him since.
The thing is, I'm not too interested in the Scorpion as a villain. I hope he doesn't appear. Like maybe as a small extra villain. But as the main villain, I wouldn't enjoy it. No, I think Venom's a much better choice. Either that or get Carnage as well.
I've talked about this before, but I guess in a short version, I feel like they could work with the symbiote in being introduced in Spider-Man 4, but not introduce Venom until later. But again, we've got Secret Wars coming now, so maybe they might introduce the Black Suit in that storyline like they did in the comics. And as for Spider-Man 4, I just expect it to be a street-level movie, have it be Spider-Man maybe teaming up with Daredevil.
That would be cool. But, yeah, it's been confirmed.
He's coming back in She-Hulk, I think, and he's going to be coming back in his own show, which is exciting.
Oh, very nice.
But so there's a lot of stuff to be excited about, but I just hope at the end of the day they do them justice, because a lot of Marvel lately have just been very hit or miss.
Yeah. I haven't watched like Moon Knight or She-Hulk or anything like that, so I've not really. Well, She-Hulk's not out, but like
it only just started airing recently, I believe.
I don't know if I'm even interested. The CGI looks terrible.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, the first episode is doing okay, but not good, because there's a lot of pros, but also a lot of cons.
I might just wait until it's out and then binge a lot of them.
Yeah, I think I'll follow you on that route, because before I've like sort of flip-flopped between watching them all together or watching them weekly like everyone else, but at this point I'm just like tired out. Thor Love and Thunder really took a lot of energy out of me for Marvel, so I'm just gonna at this point just ride the wave and see what comes out, and once it's out, if I hear good word of mouth, I'll watch it. But at this moment I am just waiting for Black Panther, because that's the only film I'll see opening night, just to see how that is. And the last few other films is just they've also got Deadpool 3 coming out.
That'll be cool.
And they've got Shang-Chi 2.
Okay.
Which will be, again, I've already talked about that as well. And X-Men. That's a film that's going to happen at some point. Although that will be interesting, because there's rumours going around that they might not do an X-Men film, but they might just make it. There was a lot of fans were worried at the time that it was going to be retitled The Mutants, and there was a lot of concerns because, again, stupid modern politics. It's like, oh, we can't have men in the title, so it's like we need to make it more inclusive to everyone. It's like, fuck off. But there's a new rumor that's been circulating recently that they might still go ahead with that, but it won't be an X-Men movie. Because what they're instead going to do is just have it be a movie about New Mutants, not literally the New Mutants, but about just about some new mutants we've never seen before on film, maybe some ones that are familiar with from the comics, but a new cast that basically introduce us to the side of mutants in the MCU.
Yeah.
So that film could be its own perfect standalone story about mutants, and then that film could end with a post-credit scene introducing the X-Men, and then you can do X-Men, the first movie in the MCU. So I think that would work.
Yeah, if they do that.
Yeah, if it's the latter scenario that they play out and that people are concerned that they do, I feel like that's just like shooting themselves in the foot more because of modern day politics.
They do love doing that though.
Yeah,
they love a good hole in their foot.
Yeah, but yeah, as is, who knows? This could work, it could not work. And going back a bit to Deadpool, the other thing that I want to talk about is that it's a shame we're never going to get the original version of that, because I think Ryan Reynolds came out recently and said that, did you know that Deadpool 3, his original pitch was apparently going to be just a road trip movie with him and Wolverine.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. Why wouldn't they do that?
Because they want a new cast for X-Men now. They can't have Hugh Jackman back.
Oh, right. I guess so, yeah. It makes it difficult, but that would have been amazing.
Yeah. Although you never know, though, actually, because considering we've got Secret Wars coming out, they might get away with, if they release them in the same year, they might get away with having Hugh Jackman come back for that movie and then have him back in Secret Wars. And those two movies could be his last hurrah. So once the classic X-Men take part in Secret Wars, maybe they die, or maybe they just like go back to their own universe after the end of the movie, then they can return to the main MCU timeline and have a new cast of characters play the X-Men.
Yeah.
And that's when you get the MCU Wolverine. So you've got the fan service of Hugh Jackman back, you get that Deadpool 3 story, and then you can get a new cast, clean slate.
Yeah.
Could work, but at the same time, again, Marvel love shooting themselves in the foot, so they might just cock it up too.
They do love it.
Yeah. Game of Thrones, though, I have a bit more hope. Because are you looking forward to that show, the House of the Dragon spin-off?
I am, yeah. It looks really cool. It looks really good. Matt Smith looks really weird with that hair, but I like him as an actor. He's a very good actor. He does look very weird with long hair. But like I think it will be a very, very good show. Whether it will live up to Game of Thrones is hard to say. As long as it ends better, should be alright.
Yeah. I mean, I have concerns, but they're lesser compared to Lord of the Rings. I just feel like at the end of the day, I want a good story. I want the characters to feel like they're part of that world. And at the end of the day, just tell an interesting story that has, merit to it. Don't rush it. Don't jump to a certain point just so you can get to that point. Take your time with these characters, build them up, and then when you get to the big conflict, it will feel that much more rewarding.
Yeah.
And moving on from that bit, have you heard about any of the Game of Thrones spin-offs they talked about recently?
No, I don't think I have, actually.
Well, there's been talks that they're working on some other shows. Some of them are actually animated.
Ooh.
So
that would be good. I do enjoy any animated shows.
So the first one they've talked about is a spin-off focusing on the Duncan and Egg stories, which are, again, they're existing material, so they could pull a story from those.
Yeah.
That's tentatively got the working title Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, or the Hedge Knight. So, and that's basically just a story about a knight called Sir Duncan the Tall, who I believe is meant to be an ancestor of Brienne of Tarth.
Right.
And he basically goes across the Seven Kingdoms doing knightly stuff, and he's got a companion as a squire who is secretly actually a Targaryen. So that could be an interesting tale to explore.
There's a lot of Targaryen things going on. I would like them to focus a bit more on other families and other houses like Lannister.
Speaking about that, the other show is a show called The Sea Snake. And this is actually going to be, if it goes forward, this would actually be a spin-off of House of the Dragon. Ooh. Because that show will feature a character called Corvus Valerian, I believe his name is. And his character is a sea captain. He's famous for going on many voyages, and this spin-off would essentially be his younger years, exploring his first voyages and how he explored the continents of Westeros and beyond.
That's cool.
So that would be very interesting, especially if they want to go beyond Westeros.
Yeah.
And going further than Westeros, we've also got the proposed animated show, The Golden Empire. Now, this is a show that would focus on I think it's the continent or like the region in Essos called the Kingdom, basically, of Yi, where it's essentially Imperial China, but in Westeros, and there's not much connected to that outside of the loose possible connections to the White Walkers, which again fans I'm sure can look into on their own. But in short, that sounds like a story that could be interesting, at least exploring a different culture, a different side of Westeros beyond what we know. The other show after that is another proposed show is Nymeria, and this is more about Dawn. It's more the Dawn. Right. We all know Dawn and how that was badly done in the show.
Yeah.
But the book version is better, at least so far. And this show would essentially be about Nymeria, the warrior queen, and how she basically set the foundations of Dawn by taking like the Rhaenyra or the Rhaenyra and helping them travel across the sea with 1,000 ships or something. I'm paraphrasing there, but that could be interesting. But again, it depends if you're a fan of Dawn, honestly.
Yeah, not so much.
Yeah.
So,
and these are all potentially good shows here. They could happen, they could not happen. But I think the one show that we are all talking about currently is a show that was actually confirmed recently to be in the process of happening. It could, again, like the others, it could not happen, but it's been confirmed recently that HBO are seriously considering a Jon Snow sequel series to Game of Thrones.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's currently got the working title Snow.
That's simple and good.
Yeah.
Short and sweet. I like it.
Yeah.
Snow.
And this is interesting because it's going to be if it happens.
In the north.
Yeah. And if it goes forward, this will be the first Game of Thrones story to take place post Game of Thrones in any form of media.
Yeah.
Even in the books, I believe. I don't think even George Martin has gone that far into the future. And this is interesting because this is a show that Kit Harington has been confirmed to be like the front runner of. He like pitched it, and he's got his own. He brought in his own team of writers to pitch scripts, and Martin himself is in support of it, as far as I'm aware. So that can be interesting to say the least, especially if depending on what story they want to do, because it might just be a simple story of him, living his life as an exiled prince with the wildlings. Or I think the current rumor going around at the moment is that it might be, in order to distance himself from Game of Thrones, and how bad the last season was, they might introduce this possible immortality to Jon. Because do you remember in season 6 when he died?
Yeah,
he was brought back to life.
Yeah,
and they didn't do anything with that whatsoever.
Yeah, it kind of did a little thing, but like I liked when they were like, "So, what was it like?" And he's just like, "Just nothing." I liked that.
Well, the theory that it's currently going around is that the show could take place 100 years in the future, because Jon doesn't age, because the spell that brought him back to life made him immortal.
That's cool. I like that.
So if they want to introduce a new cast but keep Jon, and they want to have no ties whatsoever to Game of Thrones, that could risk just retreading old ground, or at the very least just bringing back old memories of how bad the show ended with all those characters in places that they shouldn't have been in, or they should have gone in a better pacing. I feel like that would definitely be a way to approach it. What do you think about this idea of a sequel series? Because all the spin-offs are interesting, just expanding the world, but we've never had this idea almost happen before. It could not happen, but this is like the closest we'll probably get to reality so far. What do you think about that?
I like it. I like that they're doing doing more with like a sequel series. Like, I would like to see more, honestly, because it didn't end the best. So I'd like it to, I don't know, carry on so it doesn't feel like the end. And I like the idea of Snow being immortal in some way, like not aging. Oh, so cool. They could do a lot with that. Hopefully they don't fuck it up.
Hopefully not. I mean, at this day and age, with so much content just being mostly misses, I guess at the end of the day we'll see. But I have hope. I think
Yeah.
this. I mean, considering it's from the actor himself, and I mean, even he must have some form of regret from how the show ended, even though he's never come out and said it. So the
Yeah, he
fact that
definitely has though.
yeah. So the fact that he's pitched this leads me to believe he's got an idea at least. So hopefully that idea will bear fruit.
Very good.
And yeah, that's it for today, podcast wise. I'm sure we could have gone in depth in some areas, but we have been talking for a while, and Grey Owl, we tend to ramble.
Yeah, we do. We do like our side tangents.
But at the end of the day, I can't deny I've had fun.
Yeah, no, there was great discussions we had today.
It's been fun, and thank you so much for once again joining me for a main podcast, May. And just at the end of the day, thank you so much. This has been a fun journey, and we're approaching the end. That's all I'll say.
We're approaching the end.
So yeah, I'm really happy that you've been able to stick with me for 5 seasons, and going into season 6, this is going to be really exciting going forward.
It's my pleasure, Kobe. My pleasure.
See you next time, guys.
Ciao for now.